even though it sounds like we do have several folks, actually, maybe we'll get started right now. I know we have several folks that will join us. It sounds like, but we do have a lot to get to, and we do have a few things that we have and particularly in mind. So the first is that right now we do not have interpretation turned on because I don't see a need for it at this moment, but please stop us at any point. I think we kind of generally know who will need it, but if someone else logs on that we're not aware of, please stop us. We will turn it on. We have our interpretation team here, and we have slides that we can show on how to get into interpretation. You'll also notice that, which is pretty unusual for a subcommittee, but because we have the type of work we have to get done today, we've invited our facilitation team to facilitate this meeting. So I'm actually going to pass it to Jem to get us started. But just as a reminder, today's meeting is about one, we invited Kimberly to give a Measure P presentation, and two, we're gonna maybe break out, maybe depending on the number of people, maybe we still will do a breakout so we can have in-depth discussion about the RFP and any feedback you all have. But it looks like maybe with a small group, we might not need to break out. So we will.
I was gonna say, I think we're a very manageable size group to stay. Plus, you know, I mean, I have not only me, but some of our, you know, like Helly's here with who's our climate fellow and all that. So we have a lot of feedback, and a lot of the feedback, it really pertains to the two. So it's kind of to the two RFPs, to vegetative barriers and urban greening. So I think it makes more sense to stay together.
Okay, I think we can manage that. I'll pass it to Jem, and then as we move forward, we'll just kind of see if we can need to introduce more people. And with that, thanks, Jem, and thanks everyone for being here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks. Nice to see everyone in a smaller setting, and thanks for having us. I know we typically don't facilitate or join these subcommittee meetings, so it's a bit of a treat to be able to sit in on one of them. Since it doesn't look like we need the interpretation, I will skip those instructions, but we're happy to go over them if needed. I'll just go over some quick housekeeping as usual. I think just as facilitators, it's our best practice. And then we'll kick it off to Kimberly for the Measure P update. And then after that, I think the bulk of the time will be spent talking about the RFP feedback and updates. So yeah, just really quickly, let me share my screen. Really quickly, remember to stay on mute unless you're speaking or planning to speak. Raise your hand during a question, during a presentation or conversation. We're a smaller group, so that should be a lot more manageable today. And if you are calling in, you'll use *6 by phone to unmute and *9 to raise your hand. And just to make sure we have a productive conversation today, I'm going to quickly go over some ground rules. So let's help each other achieve the meeting goals today by focusing on solutions, opportunities, and keeping a productive dialogue. We want to make sure everyone has a chance to participate. So if you tend to share a lot, please make sure you make space for others to share. And if you don't, we encourage you to step up and share your ideas and ask your questions. Remember to always be civil and respectful. It's always okay to disagree, and this can always be done in a respectful manner. And lastly, a couple more points. Let's try to stay on point and on time. So keep the comments brief and concise and straight to the point, allowing everyone else to speak and share their ideas as well. And whenever there's disagreement, remember to attack the problem, not the person. We want to honor each other's humanity and dignity. Remember, we're humans before any other titles or roles we have in our Zoom title. And lastly, let's do our best to seek common ground and find opportunities to identify solutions. With that said, I mean, it's really brief housekeeping rules. We'll spend the next about 10 to 15 minutes with Kimberly's Measure P presentation, and then we'll pivot to the RFP review. Kimberly, off to you.
Okay, I did send in a PowerPoint. Are we able to share that?
Yes, I can share it.
Thank you.
I'm going to drop it in the chat, but I'll go ahead and share my screen too.
There we go. So this slide right here shows the disparity between South Fresno, particularly the 93706 zip code, where it's 1.02 park acre per 1,000 residents. And the next slide is in North Fresno, 93720 zip code, where it's 4.62 park acres per 1,000 residents. And this is how our Parks for All campaign was born. And this is where Measure P was developed. Next slide. So just a little background about who we are. Fresno Building Healthy Communities is a coalition of residents, young people, community, and faith-based organizations working together to create one healthy Fresno, where all children and families can live healthy, safe, and productive lives. Next slide, please. Our mission is to foster and encourage thriving communities where all children and families can live healthy, safe, productive lives. What we do is we work to build a long-term foundation for a healthier community with its legacy to be carried on for years to come. Through the leadership of community members, recognizing a democracy in which all community members are valued and included, we believe authentic community transformation and long-term positive changes can be achieved. Our values is community voice, youth voice, people of color led, solidarity, inclusion, equity, collaboration, and accountability. Next slide, please. This is just about our structure of who we are. We have a neighborhoods action team, prevention team, schools action team, and youth action team. Next slide, please. And where we work at is called The Place. Our geographic area of focus due to health outcome data challenges is including high levels of poverty, unemployment, gang violence, and high rates of obesity and asthma that exceeded statewide average. Next slide, please. So the spectrum of our prevention is influence of policy and legislation, changing organizational practices, fostering coalitions and networks, educating providers, promoting community education, and last, strengthening individual knowledge and skills. That's our area of focus. Next slide. Why parks? Next slide. So the social determinants of health, 10% is physical environment, 20 is clinical care, 30% is
Kimberly?
health. Yes.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt your presentation,
I'm
but
going
it does
too
look like we
fast.
have, no, it does look like we have two Spanish speakers that have joined. So if you
Okay.
could turn on interpretation so that way they can enjoy the meeting as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Emilia.
It looks like it's on. Do we need to, should we review instructions just really quickly for everyone?
Yeah, would that be helpful? Yeah, okay. Let me go over instructions really quick. Thank you. 1 second. Sorry, I have something on this. Okay. So for interpretation, not opening. Let's see if that works. Can you all see the instructions?
Yes.
Okay, so for if you're logging in by phone, sorry. If you're calling in by computer, I'm sorry, you want to click the interpretation icon on the bottom left-hand side of the control panel, and then click the language you would like to hear. I believe we have simultaneous interpretation. So if you're an English speaker, select English. So everyone has to join a channel now that it's on. And if you're listening in Spanish, please choose Spanish. And then ensure that mute original audio is not selected so you can hear folks who are calling in on the phone. Emilia, would you like to give the instructions in Spanish, please?
I believe since Amelia is actually in the channel, she's not able to give those.
So I think, Amelia, can you give us a thumbs up if we think that Estela and Lilia and Isabel are in the channel? Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Yo ya estoy en el canal.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Kimberly, take it away.
So the factors that influence health is 10% physical environment, 20% clinical care, 30% health behavior, and 40% socioeconomic factors. Since we're pressed for time, I won't read everything on this slide. Next slide, please. So in 2014, our youth spoke about what they wanted to get involved in, and they pretty much told us that our park system is not up to par. So that's when we took it upon ourselves with our coalition to figure out what did they mean about our park system not being up to par. Next slide. So the youth knew that Fresno ranked one of the worst largest cities for parks in the US. So in 2012 to 2015, we were ranked 100 out of 100. 2018, 97, and so on. And still to this day, 2021, the last we checked, and the new park score has not came out yet, we are ranked 97. So Fresno spends far less per capita, $38.31 than most other cities. Parks are roughly 5% of our city's general fund expenditures. In fiscal year 18, general fund obligations for parks were 12 million. Significant public and environmental health benefits, and as well as investing in parks can significantly improve quality of life and economic competitiveness. Next slide, please. So this is the Trust for Land Public Park Score Index, and this is where we get our park score from. Next slide, please. In 2015, our youth led a community forum asking questions of leaders about our park system and what can they do to better our park system. Next slide, please. Here's a brief timeline of our work on parks. 2010, general plan work focused on land use. 2013, you called on Fresno BHC to focus on parks. Our Parks for All communications campaign began in 2014. As well as through 2014 and 2015, our Parks Master Plan language and general plan begun. 2015, Youth Parks Forum, and so on to where we got to be able to build a Romaine skate park build out in 2015, 2016, as well as securing funding for our BMX park in Mariella Brown, and Parks Master Plan advocacy begun. Our Fresno for Parks Coalition was formed in 2017. Parks Master Plan was adopted, Measure P language drafted, and there was also a signature gathering and an election. In November 4th of 2018, November 3rd, excuse me, the Measure P component was put on the ballot. We received 52% of the vote, but it was not declared a win. So in 2018, excuse me, we went back to our youth who started this campaign and asked them what did they want to do. They said they wanted to keep fighting. So in 2019, a lawsuit challenging the city of Fresno was filed. In 2020, appeals court decision. 2021, Supreme Court decision and Measure P implementation process began. Next slide, please. We can skip this one, please. Skip this one, please, since we're... So when we talk about community organizing, it's all about power. Community organizing provides community voice and efforts towards social justice and health equity. All organizing addresses power to, with, over, the ability to influence the outcome of events. So if it wasn't for our youth bringing this to our attention and our partners and our coalition being able to get in the ground and do a grassroots organizing, we would not have Measure P now. Next slide, please. It's community focused, so understanding community as an inclusive, dynamic, and multi-dimensional system, building capacity, not merely fixing the problems. Next slide, please. So concepts in community organizing is empowerment, community capacity, participation, relevance, issue selection, and critical consciousness, something that we do on the AB 617 CSC steering committee as well. Next slide, please. So this slide just shows the principle of community organizing. I'm not going to read everything on here since we're pressed for time. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. You can skip this one as well. So I sent in this big presentation just to give you guys an overview of who we are, how we organize our residents to get the outcome that they desire. So we said it's time to fix our parks. Half of Fresno residents lack access to a quality park within walking distance of their home. Quality parks help reduce crime, resulting in a safer and better communities. In Fresno, only 4% out of every dollar that is generated is spent on parks. So that means that 51 cents out of every dollar that's generated goes to our police department. Next slide, please. And this is just a little video showing our kids playing at the park that we don't have time to play right now. So the Fresno Parks Master Plan by the numbers. Fixing existing parks needed an additional 175 million. Maintenance needed an additional 5 million per year. Park access, roughly 1/2 of population does not live within walking distance of a park. Renovations to existing parks, roughly 10 to 12 million each. New park construction, roughly 3 to 10 million each. Need 1,800 new acres by 2035. Park condition, about 80% of the city's parks are in poor or fair condition. Next slide, please. Yes on P. So when we started our Measure P campaign, we had to collect signatures to get it on the ballot. So we collected a little over 35,000 signatures, 61,000 yes votes, and 2.26 million raised. Next slide, please. Parks matter. One of the most important but least recognized essentials to a great and healthy community is a well-designed and well-maintained network of parks. Parks improve our health, economy, environment, education, as well as our community. Next slide, please. So Fresno for parks, 0.375 cents per dollar equals 37.5 million for parks. Measure P is a special tax. So if you're like me and you go to Starbucks every day and you spend about $5, you just skip one day and that's your special tax for the month. We have 34% that's deferred capital for existing parks. We have operations and maintenance for existing parks at 13.5%. with meaning that that's a little bit over 5 million. New parks, 21.5%, a little bit over 8 million. Our San Joaquin River Parkway, 2%, 750,000. Our trails, 5.5%, a little bit over 2 million. Our corridor beautification, 5.5%, a little bit over 2 million as well. Our arts, 8.5%, a little bit over 3 million. Recreational programs, youth and veteran jobs, which is very important as well, 8.5%, a little bit over 3 million. And our program implementation, which is 1%, 375,000. Next slide, please. And these are just some of our supporters of Measure P. Next slide. And these were some of our opponents. So as you guys know, we were up against developers, the chief of police, our mayor, who was our chief of police at the time, and our former mayor, Mayor Brand, along with our DA, Smitten Camp, and just other developers who were opposed Measure P at the time. Next slide, please. And these are our canvas team and some of the people who came out to help us collect signatures and went door to door to spread the word about our Measure P. As you could say, it's a lot of youth, a lot of diversity. They worked really, really hard to spread the word and collect those signatures and to get everyone to say yes on P. And I couldn't have been more proud of this team that I put together. Next slide, please. That's just us at City Hall waiting for the decision to be able to get put on the 2018 ballot. And we got that with a 5-2 vote. Next slide, please. Parks for All, equity and justice through parks and green space. Empowerment, organize their neighbors to adopt an expenditure plan and fund it through taxes. Youth mastered civic engagement. Community capacity, youth and adult residents lent their expertise to inform the campaign, learned to gather signatures, canvass neighborhoods, and improved all Measure P language. Participation. Community led all the work on the ground. Fresno Building Healthy Communities provided training and resources and support. But I think this is very, very important. Community led all the work on the ground. Relevance. Parks are important to Fresnoans. The issue was timely. Issue selection. You selected parks as their issue of focus and set the goal each year to lead the transformative change. So like I said, this was youth-led. If the youth would have never brought this to our attention, we wouldn't be sitting here today talking about Measure P. Critical consciousness. Fresnoans were or became aware of the inequities in park access, quality in Fresno, and the political power that drives decisions. Next slide. Join our movement. If you would like to join our movement, you can reach out to me. I am the project director at Fresno Building Healthy Communities, as well as the chair of the Parks, Recreation, and Arts Committee that oversees the Measure P implementation. And here's my email as well as my phone here at work. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or if you want to join our Parks for All movement. Thank you guys for having me today.
Thank you so much for that amazing, I think amazing is an understatement, presentation, Kim. And yeah, it's like really inspiring to see what community organizing in the youth can do. Are there any questions, comments for Kim?
Naomi has her hand raised.
Yes, Naomi.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much for that great presentation, very inspiring. So I really want, and that's why I suggested that we hear from you, is where are things going on? What's going on right now with Measure P? What we're trying to achieve through these specific RFPs to put funding to bring vegetative barriers and trees into the AB 617 area, how can we help complement the Measure P efforts, or, complement? We don't want to, pour a lot of money in a place where already Measure P is targeting. So I think that, what I would like to see is that we are doing that, complementing efforts and resources. So you, with your expertise and being the chair right now of that committee, I think that you're in the best position to help us find those complementary issues.
So currently our committee meets every first and third Monday of each month at 5:30. We do take unscheduled communications and we take comments on the presentations that are being presented to us. And I will welcome all of you to join those meetings and be able to provide comments and just be able to share your expertise. Most of us grew up here in Fresno. Most of us grew up in South Fresno. So we know the disparities already. We know that there is a lack of investment. So being able to hear other voices besides myself advocating for these parks will be very, very helpful. And just to bring attention to this, one moment here. On the 28th, there will be a hearing, actions pertaining to the FY23 budget recommendations. We will be reviewing the Measure P sub-program for safe walking and biking trails, street beautification, and litter removal, and the San Joaquin River Parkway. I think these things right here pertain to this subcommittee, and it will be helpful if anyone on this subcommittee will be able to attend the meeting.
Kim, can you repeat the date?
It will be February 28th at 5:30.
Kim, and so attending that meeting, we will be able to know how much of those the monies that are available through Measure P will be allocated for not only parks, improvements, but actually tree planting.
Yes, tree planting, trails, beautification, new parks, existing parks, and our arts program as well, and the San Joaquin River Parkway. So we are right now preparing recommendations to send to City Council for them to approve it, or take some out, add some in, however they want to do it. We're just a recommendation body, but I think that our voices are very powerful when we send in those recommendations, and they take that in consideration.
Thank you, Kim. And I see Lilia, you have your hand up. You have a question or comment?
Sí, es un comentario nada más, Emilia.
Estoy mandándote unas imágenes a Ana, le mandé unas imágenes precisamente esta mañana estábamos hablando de los parques, en qué condiciones están y cómo están, que cómo es posible que las familias se tengan que recorrer millas y millas para ir a ver a un parque bonito como el que está en el Google Park. No es necesario ir tan lejos teniendo parques tan cercas. Entonces, te mandé unas fotos, Ana, donde los parques, ese parque se encuentra en la Chestnut, cerca de la Olive. Me mandaron unas fotografías en eso. Ahorita en este momento me están llegando estas fotografías y las estoy compartiendo con ustedes para que vean en qué condiciones tenemos nuestros parques. Si de verdad se está implementando en limpiezas, que sea para las limpiezas. Hay muchos indigentes durmiendo abajo de estas carpitas que tienen ahí de cemento. Muchas personas así. Los baños están en pésimas condiciones. Esos baños tienen que tener un regulador constante, ya que si es un parque, obvio hay niños. Y contagiarse con alguna o picarse con alguna jeringa de las personas que se drogan en los parques. Entonces tendríamos que tener un poquito más de conciencia en eso y implementar bien los fondos donde deben de implementarse. Por favor, es mi pregunta y mi preocupación ante las fotos que me mandaron ahorita.
I agree totally with you, Lilia. We are working to identify the parks with the greatest needs, and we come up with the top 33%, and a lot of those parks are in South Fresno. And we're also in the process of making recommendations to our city council to identify new parcels of land to be able to build new parks with all of the state-of-the-art equipment that you see currently in North Fresno. So I agree totally with you, and I will encourage you to join our parks meeting every first and third Monday to voice your concerns about the parks that you see in your neighborhood and the condition that they're in. And even you can call your city council district representative and send those pictures to them so they can see the condition of the parks in your neighborhood.
Lilia, I see you have
Otra
your hand
pregunta, perdón, volví a levantar mi mano. Sí. Nuevamente, este parque está en el distrito 7, ese le pertenece a Nelson Esparza, pero de igual manera, yo sé que los parques están en pésimas condiciones en cualquier distrito de las 3, 7 y 5, así es que ese es para eso. Miré que hay fondos para los parques, nosotros aquí en el área no tenemos un parque y el único parque lo cierran a tales horas o temprano o regularmente siempre está cerrado, ahorita en tiempo de frío, que es el Mosqueda. Está un área que ya le había mandado una fotografía a Sandra Celedón. Específicamente se encuentra esa área verde que están viviendo indigentes, que se puede utilizar para algo bueno, yo pienso, ya sea para un jardín comunitario o hacer un caminador para la comunidad. En el plan específico, hace como 3 o 4 años dijeron que el recorrido de la calle Hamilton iba a ser un recorrido hasta la Chestnut. Hasta ahorita no he mirado nada de ese recorrido y de verdad que la gente necesita escaparse un poquito y qué más que tener algo cerquitas, como aunque sea un caminador pequeño allí en la 8 y la Aventura. Es un cuadro que está solo. Nos interesaría mucho que me implementaran aquí en esto y si es posible hablar con el concejal para que tengamos un poco de apoyo. Vamos a tratar de hacerlo para esta área del área de Wincho y de Jackson, que no tienen ningún parque excepto la avenida Huntington. Pero de verdad necesitamos un área verde para nosotros también en esta comunidad. He dicho.
I think that's a great segue to, if you don't mind, to our discussion, because I'm mindful of time. We have a lot to discuss and we're at 1:31. And I think that's the great thing, right? She's saying we need an area, we need parks, we need, and while we might not have an influence of how Measure P distributes their money or the city, we can make an influence by making sure that the monies that are available through these 2 RFPs are targeting these communities that don't have trees. So
exactly. That was a beautiful segue, Naomi. Thank you.
And with that, I want to make sure, is it okay? Can we go into feedback or how are you thinking of that?
I was gonna say, since we have 30 minutes left and the group has I think doubled since we started. I know we were opposed to doing a breakout room, but I want to check again. Do you feel like that would be helpful with a limited time?
I think I am still, I would defer to what my colleagues think. I still feel I'm not in favor because as I say, there's a lot of principles that apply to both RSPs that it would be better to discuss together.
We are just to clarify, but I hear your point. And I mean, the breakout groups, we're going to both go over the same thing, but just so it gives us more time so that more people can have their voice heard at the same time.
Okay. I thought you were gonna do only a one-on-one. Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah, we didn't
Those
clarify.
that could be figured, to your point, I mean, just like last time, a lot of the comments, people were saying, hey, this applies to both. And so we'll apply them to both as we kind of review.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, I didn't clarify. The purpose is so that everyone can share. So, it will go over both and we will be taking notes of both. So yeah, do you think that would be better use since we only have 30 minutes left?
Well, I want to thank everyone. I have to run and jump on another meeting. I'm sorry about that, but thank you for having me. And please reach out if you have any questions. You guys have a good day.
Kimberly.
Are there any objections I should ask to a breakout group? It's your time. We just want to make it as efficient as possible. And we thought this would be a good way to allow everyone time to share in such short time.
Can I just, sorry, I just want to say something. I just feel like breakout room, I feel like a lot of people don't actually, I feel like it's a lot more efficient here hearing this stuff. Personal opinion over here. If you guys want to do a breakout room, it works.
Sure. Jasmine, I had a hard time hearing you, but I think I heard you want to stay in one big room. Is that right?
Yeah. I just think it's a lot easier so we can all hear everyone's idea, because in a breakout room, I'm only going to hear 5 people's ideas and I want to hear what everyone has to say.
Seeing support, Jen, some thumbs
Yep.
up. So let's go ahead and get started. We have 28 minutes and want to be respectful. I also see that Lisa has her hand raised.
Go for it, Lisa.
I'm sorry, I completely forgot that this meeting started at 1. Currently, I'm sick and I just got the documents. And my question is, when is the final day for feedback on them? Because as I was reading them before I got sick, they seem to be a bit wordy.
Yeah, we at this point, I'll just say we are open. It's kind of up to the committee if we feel, and based on some previews, some people have shared with me already, there might be a lot of feedback today. So we're open to continuing to take feedback. I don't think that today there's no drop dead date so far, but we can, just to help others. We will follow up with hopefully get us feedback probably within the next 2 weeks, but we'll follow up with a specific date. But Lisa, take care of yourself, and today is not the only day to get feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Naomi?
Well, I like always to start with the positives, right? So thank you for listening to many of the comments that we made at our last meeting and incorporating that into these revised drafts. I think they're getting better and in better shape. I still have a lot of concerns about the equity being at the forefront of this RFP. So for example, asking all these technical things from an applicant, like that you have to use this scoring or whatever is it called from the California Natural Resources Agency, and that has to be included with your application. Let's be real. If you ask me to do that, I won't be able to do it. And we're going to apply. So I have a problem, because if I cannot do it, I will ask Lilia that her group is applying too, if she will be able to do it. So I think that, would that be possible? Why are we asking for that? And if that's the case, if that's a requirement from CARB, can the Air District do that? Or can we have some technical expert just hired just for that? And with that, thank you for Helly and Jasmine. They did a wonderful job actually redlining every single RFP that I'm going to send after today's meeting. But they come up with a very good idea. For example, it could have, especially for urban greenings, where we would like to see this going really to small groups, neighborhood associations, people that know, like Lilia said, this is a corner where we need trees so that they can serve the community. And we believe that the city or the large institutions are not well equipped to do that. So what we would like to suggest is having, for instance, a group like Tree Fresno, being designated and have a special contract with the Air District to be the expert, so that they could provide that expertise to the local groups that we know are neighborhoods, but we do not have the expertise to, on all the other side. And then the other thing is that I am really, I would like this again to go to community groups, to the groups that can really serve their community. And with that, I would like to suggest that in the eligible entities, I would like to suggest that the only way I feel comfortable leaving the city of Fresno there is if they're a co-applicant with a neighborhood group or a community organization. The city of Fresno has an obligation to do this without this money. And I don't think they should be given a blank check to come and swap the money and go and plant the trees wherever they want. Where have been they focusing their beautification efforts? Not in the neighborhoods that Lilia was mentioning, but somewhere else. So I would like to, and that's in our RFP revise. We want to suggest that City of Fresno and can only apply if they are going to give a matching, and that they are going to apply with a community group. And I can send the specifics about all the other comments that we have, but just to begin, I think those were the main things. And again, that the criteria that we're using prioritize the trees being planted where they are needed, where there's low tree canopy, where there's more pollution, where there's a higher ranking of Calimbara screen and so on. So I'll stop there because there's a lot more people.
I mean, I just wanted to clarify one point. You had like 10 really good points in there, but for the one on changing the criteria in the application where you ask for a technical support, can you elaborate on what you're requesting there?
Yes. So, and as I said, Amy, we actually have the whole document has all the feedback, and we're not only telling you, we have it in the document. Jasmine and Helly exported and added all the comments, so everything would be. So what we're saying, but I'll give the floor to Helly because actually that was her idea. So Helly.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Naeem and Jasmine. And I think Naeem said it quite well. So we want to make sure, just to sum it up simply, because I know of time, we change it in the document. Where our suggested revisions have it so that the burden of applying all the technical analysis to applicants' application falls on the district. In other words, for Cal and fire screen, for the canopy analysis, the toolkits that you mentioned on page, I believe it's page 14 of, it's in here under application. It's page 14 where you list up all the additional tools that are available to applicants. All those tools will be applied by the district staff, and of course maybe checked by staff of, let's say, CCEJN or other community-based organizations independently in making a recommendation to the community steering committee for granting an applicant an award from this money.
And I can read, but I think it's better if we just send that language, Amy, in writing. So it's, but one important thing that I also thought, and it was not actually, it was Helly's idea. We think that, when you're doing something new, it's better to be humble and to give an opportunity for learning. So why are we rushing on giving all the funds away in 1 year? So what we're also proposing is to split the money into 2 cycles. So half of the money for each of the RFPs will be given in 1 year, and then the second round of applications, the second year. That way we have the experience of what happens the first year and learn from it and improve it if needed or tweak it, rather than, just build a plane and go for it and then find out that we are missing things or things were not, as effective as we thought.
Naomi, I understand what you guys want. Basically, what you're saying is that an average resident is not going to go and apply for this money because of the technical information they have to pull. I mean, because they're going to think,
yeah,
no. So this is what you do. Because I used to do grant administration, right, for the state, and I used to have to score things. And for something like this, because it's just as tree guys, this isn't like mega millions that we're spending here on, a resident getting a tree. The scoring stuff that you're looking at should be left blank for staff to look up, because they can do it and sit at a stack of 20 or 50 people that have applied for trees and score them all, put that information in quicker than it will take for the resident to call staff and work with staff to get that information. It is literally a labor cost savings to move that portion onto staff to do. It'll save you more time in the long run versus playing phone tags, emails, people walking in, you doing outreach, and people creating missed opportunities. Instead, you will be creating an opportunity. That's all.
Thank you, Lisa.
To Lisa's point, was that at some point it was very confusing. It said like, and you need to explain how residents are going to access trees. You know, maybe the project, so we have to come up with categories of projects. Some project will be, I am a school and I just want to plant trees in the backyard of my school. So they don't have to make trees available for residents. So if one of the categories is for, you know, offering trees to community members, then that's when you get to explain that. But it's, you know, the way it was worded right now in the RFP, it made it seem like everybody has to make trees available to residents. So, but I see Genevieve's.
Yep, go for it, Genevieve.
Hi. So I looked over the RFP as well, but perhaps not as closely as Nayamin has. But the one thing that came to mind, and it's something that Nayamin already shared, has to do with who can apply for the funding and who can implement the project. And obviously it would be great if the city would apply, because they would obviously have the capacity to carry out that project. I would just, I would really like for and really urge that if an outside group like the city or Tree Fresno or any group is going to apply, that I feel it should be mandatory that they have a community partner, and not just a community-based group in Fresno, but like a AB 617 based community partner. If that's perhaps like Lilia's group or an EJ group that works in the area, any kind of community partner, so that it's really community focused and led. And I guess that's my only suggestion. And I haven't looked into it too much to speak to Nayamin's concern about the technical piece of it. So not really helpful there, but that's my one comment.
Thank you, Genevieve. Lilia, I see your hand is up.
Sí, la volví a levantar. Para los que no nos conocen mucho, ustedes saben que Familias en Acción tiene alrededor de 8 años dando servicio comunitario a Fresno. De ahí se inició el grupo de Unidos por un Fresno Mejor, donde trabajamos arduamente por mejorar nuestras comunidades. Entonces, una de las cosas que sí nos interesaría es que si hay que hacer un estipendio, hay que dar una ayuda, sea para aquellos voluntarios que han entregado su pasión por la comunidad voluntariamente, porque ellos no han trabajado por un sueldo, han trabajado por un mejor Fresno. Entonces yo pienso que lo mejor para esto sería buscar esas ayudas para estas familias que han entregado su pasión, su corazón, para limpiar Fresno, para limpiar contaminantes, para limpiar perros muertos, animales muertos. Yo digo que sería recompensada la comunidad con este fondo de ayuda para plantar árboles, ya que sería un trabajo para ellos y un estipendio que les ayudaría para su economía en este caso de la pandemia. Familias en Acción aquí está para trabajar con ustedes y con el que quiera trabajar con uno, porque Familias en Acción es de familias para familias.
Thank you, Lilia, and thank you everyone for your feedback and suggestions. I know, Nayamin, you have a document that you'll be submitting, so there's more tangible pieces, but I want to ask anyone from the district, are there any clarification or anything you all need to confirm given the feedback that have been provided?
David or yeah.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Lopez. I'm a supervising grants specialist here. No, thank you for your feedback. We really appreciate it. I think we're really looking forward to seeing Nayamin's comments. And then of course, obviously everybody else here who's providing feedback. I think for us, when we were developing this RFP, we were looking to see if we could find a grant administrator. Obviously, a local one was shared by the group, and I think for us, that is obviously our focus on this RFP. But if you feel that how we can develop that even further, we're really excited to see that. But so far, I think everything that has been said so far in terms of feedback looks like something we could develop as a group, and to try for us being this our very first urban greening project. I think the idea of or just kind of comment that this is something new for everybody, and learn developing it and becoming stronger, and like you said, then maybe in the next round is something I agree with. So looking forward to all the comments and feedback today, and we do appreciate everyone's time, and giving anything written out is really helpful. And of course, the team here will go back and we'll listen through this meeting again and make sure we're trying to capture things and getting it as close as possible to the document that you're looking for. Thanks.
And I see we have a lot of action going on in the chat, so I'll just read a few out loud. Let's see, Lilia has shared also verbally that Families in Action is available to work in the community, and there's a need for more trees in specific areas. Naimeen, I saw you shared an excerpt, maybe from recommendation. Do you want to point the group to that or speak more to it?
Yeah, so it's just an example of what I was referring, that the entities that should be eligible, should be obviously schools, or we didn't know the exact wording, but we wanted to also include groups that are not officially like school staff, but that are affiliated with schools, like parents associations, youth groups, community-based groups, faith-based groups, and all the gamut of organizations. But what we try really to make sure is that these are located in the area. We don't want, we prefer not to have a group from outside that doesn't know the area, that still would need to turn back and say, Lilia, can you show me where to plant the trees? So they get the money, they get all because they have the technical capacity to submit the grant, yet they don't have that rooted knowledge. So that's why we want to make sure that this is really targeted to these local groups that have the local knowledge. And that's the language that we have put. The Tree Fresno will be like a contracted organization from the Air District that will be providing that expertise that a lot of local groups that, I know, and Lilia knows where the trees are needed. We know everything, but we don't know all the other technical things, like what are the type of trees and where do I plant it? And that expertise that you only have if you have an arborist within your organization. So that we understand that when the RFP had a lot of like expert, but by putting that word, we were eliminating 99.9% of the potential applicants. It was pretty much like, go to Fresno, which we love the organization. That's why we're saying we're recognizing their knowledge. Let's have them be in support. And then the second thing is that we want to see these. We know that $2 million is not a lot, so we think that this could be a community capacity building effort, so that all the money that will be available at a later point from other entities in the state and even federally, our groups can be well prepared to bring more resources. In addition, we see this as seed money and capacity building money.
Thank you, Naimeen. Aaron, I see your hand is raised.
Just something real quick, Naimeen. I think these comments are great. I think the work with David and the team to address these. I think there's one that pops up though. I think one of your entities you mentioned is a faith-based group. I don't know. I don't believe we can actually contract with a faith-based group with the money. So that's going to be an issue. So we have to basically exclude that one out of there. I don't think public dollars cannot give money to a faith-based organization. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that. But I get it. I get where you're going, and I think we're working with the team to address those. But I just want to bring that one thing up because we're actually getting in big trouble if we give money to a faith-based group there. So
thank you, Aaron. Haley?
Hi, yeah, I just want to again, it's like when I'm saying, you'll see in the rest in our when you receive the documents that we recognize. I mean, it's important to recognize that we do have local expertise, and to build capacity, every single community group and organization that's applying for this money is going to need consultation of local expertise. So that's why we have a designated expert as Tree Fresno, and we allocate 10% of the funds to that expert on that they account for on a billable basis, and you'll see all that. The other thing I wanted to say is that we had maybe a suggestion, a draft sort of simple application that anybody could fill out from a youth group or anybody from the community as a stage one of the application process. And then once we go through those and the district staff applies the technical analysis to that, then we would rank these, and then we would ask those qualifying that we decide qualify for an implementation plan for their proposed project. So I wanted to bring that up. So we really simplified the way of applying for this money. And we also limit it to 10,000. We also have a dollar amount. So the minimum that an organization can request would be $10,000. That's the floor. The ceiling would be $100,000 in a 2-year cycle, like Naima had mentioned. Thank you.
I do want to mention,
Obviously,
one thing. I mean, can I mention one thing real quick? Is
sure,
that
go ahead.
we do have to be cognizant of the fact that there is a timeline to spend the money, right?
No,
So,
that was my next question. What you know, when you say a timeline, because I mean, what we have been hearing from other things when we have our all steering committee meetings, and you know, all of you who are part of those meetings might have heard this, is that there's really that we were not aware there was a timeline. So if there is, please let us know.
there is a liquidation deadline the state gives us to liquidate the funds. So it's not just a continuous forever. There is a liquidation deadline the money has to be spent by. So we are on
There's actually when you're dealing with state money, there's a final encumbrance period in which you have to not only submit all your final invoices, you also have to prove your project is completed to the person signing off on the final check, because that's what I used to do. So one of the other things you guys also have to realize is that we've been asking for timelines for this projects and the different steps in it for years now. So, you know, it's kind of disingenuous to come to us henny penny telling us the sky is falling when we've asked for information and timelines to get this project going. So, you know, it is not us that is behind the 8 ball, it is you. And as far as this project, I'm more than glad to go through everything and read it with a fine-tooth comb and give you my level of expertise as a former contract administrator with the state, because that's what I used to do. And as far as even to the point of, you know, giving you guys suggestions of what to put on your application so it's actually resident friendly. That will not only save you time but money. But, you know, here's the deal. The deal is if you want my help, you need to listen to my suggestions and not blow them off, because the reason why we're here today is I've given a lot of suggestions to the Air District and it's been blown off. So if you're going to continue to blow me off, then I'm not going to really, you know, go out of my way. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And just want to confirm the timeline piece, since it was raised a couple of times. This is something the Air District can provide for the committee?
Yes, yeah.
Ivanka, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, just to go back, Erin, can you make this an action item and let us know exactly who in your CARB technical assistance that you can get the answer from, as to stating that religious entities cannot apply before you just write that in there? Because if you look at the 70 million, 68 million, that TCC got, while that might be Strategic Growth Council, this being CARB, a lot of religious entities are nonprofits. So just could you follow up with an exact who from CARB states no, you can't write that in that application or not, and get back to us on that? Because I don't know, I think there's a way that we work so much with community organizations that are technically based in a religious entity. For example, St. Rest, they do so much with urban greening and a lot of different programming within the community, but as a nonprofit. So before we just assume that, can you get some, like a detailed answer from us for whoever that is that you reach out to from CARB for your technical assistance when writing the proposal? Thank you.
Yeah, we could do that. Part of it, the main thing we found out many years ago actually was for the California Constitution that kind of lays it out very clear. And so I'm not saying that all faith-based groups will qualify, but it basically lays out pretty clear that you cannot give public dollars to these organizations. And we can bring it up and show you which ones, how it lays it out. But it's basically in the California Constitution that we ourselves educated many years ago on. So we can look it up and show kind of what it says essentially.
Yeah, my understanding, and but I agree and echo Ivanka's request to get something from CARB so that we are all on the same page. But definitely you cannot fund a church for anything that is related to their faith-based work. Right. But if it's something separate as a nonprofit that is community work, I'm aware that they are, at least for other funding opportunities, have seen them apply. But if you can clarify, that would be great. The second thing that I would like to see from CARB, and it's a shame that they are not here today, is the timeline. Because as I said, I have talked to Deldi. I have, heard from CARB board members and others that there's flexibility in when the money needs to be spent. So I think that, it's good to have a clear understanding of those timelines, and based on that, fix that into the language. Oh, and Jennifer, you're here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was about to say I'm more than happy to follow up and send something with a timeline if the district does not have anything available. We're more than happy to put that together for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you. I do see we are right at time. I want to be respectful to everyone's time. It looks like this is still an ongoing conversation. So just want to reiterate, I believe there's a question around when to submit feedback. And I believe Jess said they were going to have it for another 2 weeks and they would follow up with folks in the meantime. Go ahead.
Can I suggest that if they're giving us 2 weeks to submit feedback, that we now, we get someone from the Air District scheduling a meeting in 2 weeks, because I think that it was a lot of time that passed between our last meeting and this meeting. So otherwise, we're going to be here in January of 2023 having the same discussion. So if you give us 2 weeks, that's fine. But that in 2 weeks, we also know that we already have our follow-up meeting to come up with a final, recommendation on finalizing these RFPs. As I said, that's another reason why we were suggesting of having it a 2-year process, because we know we're not going to get it perfect. So if we try 1 year and then we do it again, that makes a lot more sense for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm going to flick to the Air District to confirm that we can schedule something in the next 2 weeks for the next meeting.
Jen, can I clarify something? Is the ask that you would submit your feedback today and then the Air District would revise and update the RFP, and you meet in 2 weeks and you have feedback already for them?
Well, yes and no, because remember that Lisa asked how long she had to submit her feedback, and they say 2 weeks. So mine is ready. I'm going to submit it in, after our meeting adjourns, but others might need more time to review it. So, that's what I think we need to be clear.
Yeah, like not scheduling.
Sorry, Jen, go ahead.
I was saying not scheduling the meeting in 2 weeks from now, but just saying have it scheduled within 2 weeks, right? And I like have a meeting scheduled within the next 2 weeks, maybe a month and a half from out, however much time.
No, because you're hearing that the money we need to spend it, and it's going to take us another 3 months to schedule another meeting. No, I think.
Sorry, I meant like maybe a month from today would be the next meeting. So, or whatever, what is a reasonable time for folks?
Why,
So that,
why don't we give, well, let me suggest this.
Hmm?
Why don't we give ourselves that we have up to 2 weeks to send the feedback, okay? And then we give the air district a week, a full week, because they can start working on the feedback right now. I mean, some of it you have already received it. And then we can schedule a meeting in 3 weeks, not a month.
I'm looking to the air district to confirm, but I see Steph nodding. So yes, 3 weeks.
Yeah, I agree with the meeting in 3 weeks, but also know that my comments are going to come in really late because the next 2 weeks literally is doing, I have some legal research on another project that is very time sensitive. And plus I'm sick, so you never get really good comments from me when I'm sick.
Okay, so confirming everyone to submit their feedback within the next 2 weeks, and we will have the next meeting 3 weeks from now.
And I'll give you my comments within 3 or 4 weeks because it is what it is. We should have literally, you guys really, we should have had this in January because I could have read it all of January, most of February.
Understand.
Thank you, Village. Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate it. So if folks could send whatever you have by this Friday so the Air District can start working on it next week to update the revisions. And then whatever you have extra feedback to submit, just send that when you can, Lisa and others, take your time. But know that whatever gets sent in by this Friday will get incorporated into the new draft that we then meet about in 3 weeks, right? Because there's that iteration piece that it just takes time to update all these documents. So in those 3 weeks, if you've submitted feedback in between, we'll talk about it at that next meeting. And then hopefully from there, we can finalize and launch this into Naomi's point, get these dollars out into the community.
Absolutely. Okay, that sounds good. All right, with that said, I know we're a bit over time, so thanks for hanging in there. We'll let you all go. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you.
Oh,
a todos.
and let me confirm, we do not have it.
Naomi, did you see my chat? Oh, she's gone. Okay. Bye.
Excuse me. Hello. Okay. Nobody. wants to
Lisa,
talk?
I can hear you. I'm here.
We hear you, Lisa.
We don't have an AB 617 meeting tonight, do we?
No, it's the third Wednesday. Sorry, we
Okay.
had our, I'm sorry, are you asking for Fresno?
Yeah.
No, we had ours on the 9th, I believe, and then March will be on the third Wednesday, so.
The 16th,
Seriously,
yeah.
when I even have a small cold, it just messes up my whole timing.
No, I get it. I don't even need a cold for my brain to be not all there.
I just went out yesterday to my cardiologist and I'm sick.
Take care of
I'm
yourself,
sorry.
Lisa.
Yeah,
The
sleep and drink
Abundagas
lots of
already
water.
arrived. That's what I was doing when I realized I was missing a meeting. Anyway, I will touch you guys later.
Feel better.
You have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Amelia.
Thanks, Amelia. You too. Thank you.